Good morning. This is Jim Moore, and you are watching Justice for America. It is Wednesday, September 20th, and this is episode number 62. Normally, I'd be doing this program on Tuesdays, but I was on a birthday vacation, so I want to start out by saying thank you to all of you who sent your birthday wishes. Greatly appreciated. Yeah, it does the heart good, so thank you so much for those, every single one of you. If I didn't thank you personally, it was just not intentional, so thanks. And then I also wanted to give a special shout out to my brothers today, David and Dean Moore, who are having their birthday today. Literally, they're born 1 year before I was, on 2 days difference. I was born on the 18th of September, they're the 20th, so for 2 days out of the year, I was as old as they were. So there you go. Something kids rejoice about. So we're going to talk today about the difference between being an alarmist or sounding an alarm. Is there a difference? And we're going to talk about what is racism and what exactly is justice for the United States of America. So, you know, the title of the program, Justice for America, I want to talk about what that looks like. Now, we do have a lot of links like we normally do. I have quite a few. I actually had more time to gather some. So you'll want to listen close and do your best to watch those, as many of them as you can. My forte, as it were, is to take a couple of those and put must see, because I know some people, they just don't have time. Hey, Linda, how you doing? Hey, Tammy, God bless you guys. Nice to have you this morning. So, yeah, if nothing else, go back, go up to the description box, drop down, look at the links, and some of them wind up being taken off by the time we get, around to doing the program. I don't have any say about that. My caveat is I don't have any control over the advertisements that they use, okay? The language that they use, the content that they have on the rest of their site. You know, sometimes I'll pull something from the site, and I don't even know that much about it. I don't have time to do a lot of research, but I find out later on they're a little wackadoodle. I tell people I'm looking for truth, okay? Anybody can say truth once in a while. We're hopefully looking for people to say it all the time. All right, so we are going to get to those links, and there's a lot of really, really important ones today. The world, things are accelerating. Now, I want you to know I'm a Christian. I am a Bible believer. I do believe in the Word of God. I believe God was smart enough to record some of the things He said, so that we would have them as a record. Instead of, you remember the game that we used to play called telephone, where one person would start out saying something and whisper it in the ear of the person next to them. And by the time it got all the way around the circle of 10 or 15 people, the message was entirely altered. Well, God was smart enough to write His message down, and you need to be smart enough to read it, okay? So anyway, I will be commenting from a Bible-based perspective. All right, so let's start out with number one right away, alarmists or alarming. The first two videos I'm going to show you this morning, I'm not going to show, I'm just going to point you to. One of these days I'll be able to show you clips of these when I learn how to do it. So Debbie, God bless you. But it is a person of color, I don't know her name, but it's a lady who had been in prison and had a very bad experience through her pregnancy. She was chained or handcuffed or what have you to her hospital bed while she was trying to give birth to her child. And so what she is testifying about is Donald Trump. Now, I'm going to give my quick thing about Donald Trump real quick. People ask me, do you think he's going to be the next president? I don't know. I haven't heard from God on that. I don't know. I'm not going to be surprised either way, okay, for different reasons. So we'll just leave that there. Are you the big Donald Trump fan? I think Donald Trump did a great job as president. I think that when you constantly say bad things about people, those who really don't take the time to investigate and just accept whatever the masses say will begin to parrot that and so on. So no, I don't believe he was an evil man. I think he did some stupid stuff. But I think there are people in Hollywood and politics that have done 1,000 times worse than he has. I'm concerned about how they run the country and so on and so on. All right. So this first video is this woman, again, person of color, black woman. She's talking about how that she was convinced that he was racist. Why? Because everybody said he was. Okay? Case in point. And she's not the only one. Lots and lots of people out there that are saying, you know what, all this whole, the President Donald Trump was a racist. It's just malarkey. It's just not true. That's my opinion, okay? Anyway, she comes on and she talks about how she met him and he was sympathetic to her cause and to the fact, the cause of the black community and so on and so on. So, long and the short of it, it's a very short video. She basically is saying, if you read between the lines, she's saying, don't judge a book by its cover. Don't just listen to what everybody says because you're too, I'm going to make some people mad right now, too ignorant to do your own investigating, or you just want to say what everybody else says because you don't want to be the unpopular duck, okay? So that's the point of that one. And I think you're going to like that one. Number two, this is another really foolish thing that our president has said. And again, I want to make known my policy, and I'm not saying I've always done this correctly, but my policy is I want to be like Jesus. Okay, many people call themselves Christian. Christian is a Christian. It means someone who is following the teachings of and attempting at some level to be like Christ. Okay, if you're not even trying to be like Christ, you're not a Christian at all. I'm just saying. If you are, you are. Okay. But it's not just about having the label and knowing how to quote the verses. I see so many people online today that do this. I mean, they have the worst potty mouth. They're out there slugging down and getting drunk and sleeping around, doing all this stuff in the name of Christ and saying their prayers. Listen, that's not what it means. To be a Christian is to be like Christ. Now, I'm not saying we judge each other, okay, or that we, try to outdo each other or put our, virtue signal. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in your heart of hearts, you are attempting, are you listening? You are attempting to be like Jesus the Christ, okay? So if there's no attempt there, you never read what he said about how to be like him or any of that. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So why'd you say that? Well, because the president came on and made a statement, and you'll have to watch it, but he made this statement where he said that the invasion of illegal immigrants from multiple, we're talking now, I believe, past 100, I don't have that number, nations, multiple millions of people. Some people still don't even understand this, and it's shocking to me, but it's because they're not looking, they're not paying attention. But up to about 7 million of this invasion that's happening, all these and people are suffering now, and they're suffering and all this. He's saying this is going to be a good thing. Now, this is not a quote. You'll have to listen to it for the quote. But basically, he says that that whites are going to be a minority, and this is a good thing for our country. All right, this will be a strength. That's, I think, the word he said. This will be a strength for our country. Now, listen, that is just as much racism as the person that says that the white ethnicity is the superior ethnicity. It's foolishness. Let me just give it, because I don't want to make this whole program about racism, but let me just tell you my opinion really quickly about what racism is. Racism is one of the ultimate evils on the planet. It is something that every person ought to do diligent searching in their heart, because it's taught. The two ways that it comes how you're taught, and it also comes through life experiences. And that's pretty much how we get most of our character traits and so on. But racism is really an issue of the heart. Okay, it's an issue of the heart. It's how you feel about others in a really basic, super simplistic way. So for the president to come on and say something so foolish, basically trying to give an excuse for the invasion that's happening in our country and saying this is somehow going to be good for us because it will make white people a minority is so ridiculous. I don't even want to give it, I don't even want to talk about it. That would be, again, you could apply that to any ethnicity, so we're going to have this group is now going to be, the Asians are now going to be the minority, and that's going to be a good thing for our country. Or this group, or the Hispanics, or whatever. It's foolish no matter what ethnicity you're attaching it to. All I'm going to say about that. All right, so the next really big thing that's happening on our radar again is COVID. Now I know for the last 3 or 4 programs I've hit this pretty hard. I still feel compelled to do that, and I think that's because it's still really, really important. A lot of disastrous things happened. A lot of disastrous things happened because of the way people responded to the COVID crisis, and especially those who were in positions of leadership that God cares a great deal about. That's why he told us to pray for them. And one time I wasn't doing that, and I won't go into the whole story, but I was not praying about those in leadership in a particular thing that was going on. And the Lord, encountered me. I know some of you don't believe God does things like that, but he did. He came to me and he said, the enemy cares more about what's happening in this realm of leadership than you do, Jim. It's like, I was stunned by that. I thought, God forbid that my enemy would care more about something than I do. You get what I'm saying? Okay. So anyway, this new thing that's coming there, I want to be careful how I say this. I've shared this many times. COVID is real. Okay. It's a dangerous thing, like any sickness. Okay. We don't ever talk about the flu. It's kind of the new flu now, right? They say it's going to be with us forever, blah, 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 blah. Wonderful. I mean, not wonderful, but yeah, whatever you want to think is what. But when people seize upon that to gain unprecedented and frankly unlawful and immoral control over people, we call that slavery. That's when I believe it is time for God's people to stand up and say, no, that's not right. How many times in the scripture, I've been reading the book of Isaiah, chapter after chapter after chapter, God sent warning. He sent an alarm. And people say, well, that was all the old covenant. No. Yeah, I mean, yes, it was. It was under the old covenant, but it was still the God of the universe saying, hey, I'm giving you a heads up, not because I, God, am an alarmist. Okay? Now, there's some people that are alarmists. Alarmists are just something that's always looking for something bad so that they can go out and it's like, Chicken Little running, the sky is falling, your hair's on fire and all that. It's not about that. There is a balance. God himself, okay? Now listen, unless you're better than God, God himself gave warning. Why? Because he cares about people. Because he doesn't want the earthquake to overtake them. He doesn't want the Pol Pots and the Adolf Hitlers and these individuals of the Mussolinis and so on of the world to come and bring everybody into unnecessary torture and bondage. And, like I've always said, it's one thing when it's somebody else that's getting persecuted and tortured. It's another thing when they come for your child and they drag them out of the house and torture them in front of your eyes. This happens in other places in the world. I'll bet if it happened to you and I, we would suddenly have a big concern about our leadership and then actually pray for them like God told us to. Okay, so this one under the COVID propaganda war, a number of these links that I'm going to show you, they're most of them very short links. It is to remind you of something. You say, I don't need to be reminded. Actually, yes, you do. You need to be reminded of what happened a very short while ago, a year or two ago, where people, not only leadership, but those under them, went crazy. Are you listening to me? They went crazy with mandates, with fear, so on and so on. Okay? So again, there's a balance. Do we want to prevent being sick? Absolutely. I've used the illustration. If my wife is, sick and she's running out the nose and sneezing and coughing and all the other wonderful things that come with sickness, I'm not going to go up and plant one on her lips, right? Because we know there is such a thing as germs. We know that. Okay, so let's not be dumb and say, well, it doesn't really matter. No, it doesn't matter. We also know a God who heals our bodies. Okay, so we take precautions, we're careful and so on, but at the same time, we don't drift over into the kind of fear and paranoia that typically happens when these sorts of things arise. All right, so this first one, I want to warn you right off the bat, there's some graphic language, at least by one of the clips. Again, I'm not going to throw away the whole clip for that, but So this is one of those, and I've said this before, some of these you have to tap. Okay, it'll show the picture, and you probably have to tap it in order for the sound to come on, or there might be a little speaker with a line through it. You know that. All right, so this is one of those. This is my first must-watch. This one actually made me cry. Jim, you admit that? Yes, I do. I admit that. Jesus wept. Okay, when I watched this, my heart broke. When I thought about what people are willing to do to other people in the name of law, and these weren't even laws, in the name of, I'm the authority and you will do what I say and all of this, and it's for your safety, it's blah, blah, blah. Okay, for whatever the motivation is, what people are willing to do to other people is horrific sometimes. And so this is a number of links all put together in a collage of some of the things that happened around the planet. China, Australia, the United States. It's short, but it is to cause you to remember. And you want to make sure you watch this one to the end. Oh, you know what? I'm telling you all about the wrong one. Rats. Okay. All right. I am so sorry. All right. I'm telling you about the wrong one. So that is a link. That's later on down. Okay. Hold on. No, I'm right. I'm in the right one. I'm not on the right one. Okay. I'm on the right one. I'm sorry. I'm losing track. I'm losing my mind. All right. So at the end of this, I thought it was wrong because I read something here, but at the end of this short video, you've got a man. His name is Del Bigtree. He's reading from a person's who wrote, I believe it's somebody from Canada. They wrote a short document about how their mind has been changed. They're a person who had been vaccinated. Again, if somebody wants to be vaccinated, great. That's their, you know what? It's your choice to be able to do that if you want to. You have a choice to do anything you want to, and then live with the consequence, whatever that looks like. So I'm not here to tell you one way or the other. But the other thing is you can't take away other people's choice because you're afraid. All right. So he was one that did. He was one that was vaccinated and so on. And he's writing this thing after looking back. And as the collage is running through and you're seeing the videos, he's reading a letter. This man, Del Bigtree, is reading a letter from another person that wrote after the fact and saying, basically, it's an apology. And I don't know who it was that wrote the letter. I only have the name of the one guy who was reading the letter. But it's basically an acknowledgement that we were wrong. We were wrong to lock you up. I know some of you don't even know that people got locked up for nothing other than they wouldn't get the jab. Okay? You need to watch it. He said we were wrong about that. Now this letter that this person wrote that Del Bigtree is reading is phenomenal. I had to listen to it because he reads it pretty fast. I listened to it 3 different times in order to absorb what this man was saying. It gives kind of a quick overview. It's only a couple minutes long, but it's really very powerful. So make sure you watch it to the end. You might want to listen to it twice. So precisely 2 years ago, in a couple of days now, Joe Biden officially declared that those who were unvaccinated were an enemy of the state. You need to watch this too. What ensued after was one of the most hate-filled propaganda campaigns in human history. And that's something else that's being said about that same link. I believe it shows him saying something about it. One of these links shows him getting on and basically telling everybody, we've been patient with you. In other words, those who refuse because they just didn't feel right about it, getting the jab, we're losing our patience with you. You're basically, and he didn't use the phrase enemy of the state, that would have been too much, but that's basically what he's saying. It's us against you. We're the ones that's in the right. All of you are hurting us. We're doing the right thing, and we're losing our patience with you. Hi, Steve. Let me just say this. No president in the United States has ever done that or been as careless with their speech and as brazen with their agenda to disregard the rights of human beings than President Joe Biden. And I'll say that with clarity. I'm not against the man. I pray for him. I pray for his soul. I pray for his family. I do, because the Bible tells me to. And if you don't, you've probably gotten off course somewhere. I'm just saying. Okay? So I'm not hateful. I don't want to see any harm come to him, but that might happen. Anyway, I'll talk about that later on. I don't want to be the guy that the FBI comes kicking my door in and shoots me because they think I'm a threat. All right. And plus, that's not Jesus. That's not what the Lord does. But he did say these things. And it's right for you and I to remember them. Okay. Number 2, remember the blood red background that, again, the president gave a speech where they have these literal blood red. I mean, it's like you're not doing what we're saying. We're going to come one step short of actually arresting you and throwing you in jail like some other countries. You know, other countries did that, right? The Chinese in Australia, which Australia is one of our allies. They're totally democratic country. Okay. They actually put people in camps. That's not a theory. Okay. It's way, way not a theory. Anyway. So he's like one step before doing really what they would have done. And this is my personal opinion, what the government would have done if they thought they could get away with it without starting a civil war. I believe they would have done it. So he gets this red background behind him, a Marine on each side of him, and he gets up and talks about the democracy is in danger because of these people and Donald Trump and blah, 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 and all lies and all rhetoric and all very dangerous speech, all with the background. I mean, it literally looked like something spawned from the gates of hell. It was horrifying and probably one of the biggest mistakes they ever made. So number 2 is just the picture. There is a link where you can go and read some stuff. But really, I just wanted you to look at that picture and just focus on it for a minute and think about what it took to bring someone to such a horrendous mistake and to engender fear and really threat. It was a veiled threat to the American public, okay? Number 3. Now, this is the one where I know for sure that, and again, I'm not trying to just pick on the president. I'm really not, but I'm saying it doesn't matter if it comes through President Biden or if it comes through, Sally Fields or Oprah Winfrey. It doesn't matter who it comes through. We're looking for truth. We're looking for people to speak the truth, that righteousness might prevail. Okay. And I know there are different opinions on what that looks like, but God is the final opinion, right? His is not an opinion. His is a fact. All right. So number 3 is again, the president coming on. And here's a quote, I believe. "We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us." Okay. This came right after he announced sweeping vaccine mandates. Okay. Why are we saying all this? Because they are making a play to do this again. History repeats itself. The only thing that will stop that. Okay, what do we do? What do we do? The elections are coming. It looks like Donald Trump might win. They're scared of losing power. And even if Donald Trump was taken out, we don't want some other guy coming in. The current administration is fearful of losing power. That's the bottom line, in my opinion. And so what worked before? Well, COVID worked before. So and we start ramping this up. And then lo and behold, out of nowhere, Jill Biden, who again, I'm not mocking, I'm not hating, I'm just saying the truth, suddenly comes down with COVID after being jabbed, I don't know how many times. And of course, the jab is safe and effective. It always, keeps you, yada, 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 whatever. Okay. So again, I wanted to show you that to remind you to what degree, are you listening now? Please listen close. I'm trying to remind you to what degree people who have become corrupted, they might have been good at one time, but they've become corrupted, to what degree they're willing to go in order to maintain power. What does that degree look like? Basically stepping on people and their rights, and even persecution in other countries where there's not a democratic and a republic a system that's as strong as ours, even though ours has been affected pretty dramatically. There's my love. Hi, babe. Those places, they don't even worry about hiding it. They just come right out and do it. Beating people in the streets, welding their apartment doors shut, and they starve to death. I personally heard, talking to a lot of people on the internet. You cannot believe the crazy. Okay, and now thankfully, nothing quite that extreme happened here. But trust me, if there wasn't a public outcry, we would already be in full-scale lockdowns again. And for no other reason, really, not because of the safety of the public, although that is the excuse that they will give, but it's really about the elections. All right, so that's number 3. Number 4, now here's something again. I'm giving you a number of these to remind you, and I'm going to move on here in just a minute. But just a year and a half ago, I'm quoting off of this. You can see it for yourself. If I cannot prove it and bring the receipts, I'm usually not going to say anything about it, okay? So here's a quote off of this one. This is just a picture, okay? It's a picture of a chart. You want to see the chart, that you want to see the receipts, as it were. But let me read what it says. Just a year and a half ago, 30%, are you listening now? Hone in. 30% of Democrats believed that children, now some Republicans believe this too, but I'm just highlighting the Democrats. 30% of Democrats, according to this poll, believe that children, are you listening, should be taken away from their unvaccinated parents. Oh no, it's not crazy. Jim, what's the big deal? Oh, I don't know. What would happen if they came to your door? If you go, you know what, man, I just feel like God is saying, don't do this for whatever reason. Okay, I've had heart issues. That's one of my reasons. I've got other reasons. Okay, but what if they come knocking on your door and this has already happened? I'm not telling you something that hasn't happened. We're talking about in the United States of America for purposes of this chart. Going to take away your kids because you are unvaccinated and a danger to your kids. Leadership doesn't matter. We don't really need to pray about leadership. God will just put in whatever he wants. And aren't we supposed to be willing to suffer for Christ anyway? Though that theology is so ridiculously anti-Bible. All right, anyway, I'm not going to go off. So 30% of Democrats believe that children, this is a year and a half ago when polled, 30% of people asked said, yeah, we should take away people's kids who aren't vaccinated. A lot of Hollywood stars, okay? I see on one collage, they are talking. You'd be shocked, some of them going, oh yeah, they should go to jail, or oh yeah, they should, blah, blah, blah. 50% of Democrats polled believe that the unvaccinated, listen, are you ready? One step short of being killed, okay? 50% of Democrats polled said that the unvaccinated ought to be sent to camps. Those are real people walking up and down the streets that were so brainwashed and so fearful that they say, yeah, the unvaccinated are a danger to us all. Okay, now we're realizing that's not true. Now the tide has turned the other way. A lot more information has come out. So we're not saying, everybody was demonized. You get what I'm saying. We just have to have our eyes open and our ears open. All right. So you're going to want to look at that quick chart. Number 5 and number 6 and 5 and 6 are some quick videos of, real life people who were beaten, people who were arrested. One of them was a grandma, literally, who didn't have her papers, her vaccination papers with her, and they wanted her to show them, and she got a little irate about it, so they arrested her. Okay, not because she was violent, but because she did not have the papers. Show us the papers. Okay, anyway, another one is it was a woman who was tased. You probably remember, and again, these were things that happened back. They're reminders. She was tased in a football field, a mom, because outside, nobody around her for miles away, watching her kid play a football game. She was asked to wear a mask and she refused, and so the police came and literally tased her. What if it was your mom? Oh, well, that doesn't bother me that much. She probably should have just, what if it was your mom? Come on. All right, number 7. I said this here, I think, last week. Again, I'm trying to remind you and so on. Number 7, you probably, because again, they're not going to show this on mainstream media, but here's a picture. This was, I forgot to put the date down. Oh, wait a minute. It was 9/16. So this is on the 16th. This was, let's see, my birthday was Monday the 18th. So 2 days before that. So Saturday, right? Saturday the 16th. Listen now. Listen. Why does the government push these vaccines so hard? Why? They lit up, I'm probably gonna lose this one. They lit up the Empire State Building with a blue that they call Pfizer blue. Okay, Pfizer, the ones that manufacture they have their own shade of blue that they use on everything. They literally lit up because the Empire State Building looks like a giant syringe. You need to look at the picture. You have to ask yourself at some point, why? Why do they say, okay, and this was in order to celebrate the fact that this is a brand new shot that's come out. They say it's safe for 6-month-old and up. And it came out just a few days after the big announcement that COVID is here again. Okay. If you don't see something strange in this, then you're not paying attention. All right, let's get off of that and go to the next one. You know, we spoke a lot about our children and the seducing of our children, the grooming, the crazy things that have happened to our kids. Stuff that most of us couldn't have even imagined a decade ago, not that long ago. It's crazy how quickly we have degenerated. See, this is what happens when you reject God. When you don't believe in God, who becomes God? Well, you become God. And then it doesn't matter what gender you're born. It doesn't matter anything. You can be whatever you want. Nobody can tell you otherwise. All these crazy things. You can become a robot. Okay? Don't think I am not exaggerating. Okay? You can become this. You can be a cat. You can, whatever. You want to sew a lion's head onto your shoulders and hope it works. You can do. It's just craziness. And you know what? I'm going to take a very unpopular position right now. I'm not in favor of making a whole bunch of laws that prohibit adults who are in their right mind. Of course, there's a question if they would be in their right mind to do whatever they want. Okay, now I think you have to be careful when you start making all kinds of laws that try to make people moral. Everything's about morality. Okay, you don't kill someone. We make a law about not killing somebody. Why? Because that is about imposing your lack of morality onto someone else, okay? But the flip side is true as well, okay? Let me give you the ultimate example. We have freedom of religion. Now, I think false religion, cults, people worshiping the devil or any other false idol is a bad thing. I think ultimately, if Jesus is true, he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to God except through me. I didn't say it. He said it. I believe it. Okay? I'm not ashamed to say I believe that because I believe everything he said. But I do not believe in making a law that says, well, because this is my faith or this is my morality, you have to do according to my morality. No, that's not even what God does. Okay? He says, listen, I'm going to give you a free will. I'm telling you the truth, okay? I don't want you as my slave. I want you as someone who loves me and worships me and walks with me and all of that because you choose to do that. If you don't want to do that, if you want to live like Satan, one day I'm going to let you live with him, okay? So, I know. People, that's just so harsh to him. I'm just telling you what he said, okay? I happen to believe it. So, I just said that because I think we have to be careful where we draw the line for making laws. I actually had the Lord come to me and ask me, so Jim, if you were in charge of making the laws, would you do this? Would you do this? And I really had to think about it because actually God wants you to use your brain and think. All right, so this thing about our kids has gotten way out of control to the place where normal thinking, intelligent people are waking up. Sometimes our compassion chip overwhelms and outweighs our common sense chip. And things have gotten so far down the road, we are sacrificing our children, and I'm going to say to Satan, for the sake of compassion, for the sake of what we're calling love, but it is not love. I tell you, as a representative of God, the God of heaven, it is not love. One day you'll stand before him and find out that's true. I'm just I'm not trying to be a know-it-all, I'm just saying. So, do you remember when all of this progress that so many are rejoicing about transitioning and all this crazy stuff, didn't even exist? I remember when it didn't. And I remember our kids were a lot better for it. So here's a link. This is under the section Seducing Our Children, Doing What Once Was Thought Unthinkable. Okay, an unspeakable crime and its unexpected consequence. So this is a story about a young girl, a 14-year-old girl. School employees secretly transitioned this girl, a secret from her parents. She wound up running away. She wound up being kidnapped, wound up being used for sex slavery, back into the system, juvenile facility, sexually assaulted in that. All of this started when they refused to tell her loving mom or a grandma, maybe, I forget, what was going on, and to put her in counseling. Instead, they were so... You see, what happens is once you give place to these doctrines and these rhetoric and all of this, you then begin to push into it more and more and more. And so this school found it to be their big goal to transition this young woman. So, number one, and then I think number three, I think I got these out of order. Number three and even number four, number four are all about this individual named Sage, okay? And so, and I injected in the middle of that number two, I don't know if some of you ever watched Libs, L-I-B-S, of TikTok. I don't do TikTok. I just didn't feel like God said to use it, so I don't use it. Hey, Christy, God bless you. But there's an individual that basically all they do is they find postings from people that are, you know, they call it Libs short for, not liberty, liberals. There's a difference, okay? And they just post them. That's all they do. They don't, you know, assault them or anything. They just take them and post them. Anyway, this is one of them where this man, and many of them happen to be school teachers, coincidentally, okay? No coincidence. And he's coming on and says, hey, you should watch this one. He goes, hey, it's very short. He goes, you know what? Parents, are you ready for this? He says, you don't have any rights. Your children have rights, but you don't have any rights. Do you understand? This is not crazy talk. There's vast portions of people that believe in exactly what this man is saying, or whatever he is, okay? You don't have rights to your kids. Your kids basically are someone else's property. Now, let me say, okay, because, you know, I believe in telling the truth. Hey, Robert, God bless you. Listen to me. Listen close. They're your kids. You have been given by God responsibility. They're not the property of the state. They're your property. They're not really your property, as it were, okay? But you have responsibility over them. Now, why do we have law enforcement? Why do we have judges? Why do we have parental whatever law? Why do kids have rights? Absolutely. If you abuse your child, then we have given the state permission, be careful, listen to what I'm saying, to intervene. Not for any reason, not for every accusation, but I'm talking about real, for real abusive situations. Yes, you have lost now your responsibility and your privilege over your child. So every privilege, every responsibility is not open-ended to eternity. You can do whatever you want, however you want, whenever you want. No. Our rights, our responsibilities are limited by God. Okay, the state's job is supposedly to recognize those limitations and not to overreach. Okay? All right, so 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all kind of in the same category. And here's my next number 3 is the must-see. And that's the testimony of this mom, whose, I believe, his daughter, named Sage. Hi, Christ Ambassadors. Nice to have you. To Christy, did I say hello? God bless you. All right. And then number 4. So number 3 is the mom basically telling her story and the story of her daughter named Sage and what happened to her and so on and so on. You really need to watch it. Number 5 this is something that Sean Foyt put on. It is a group of people. Okay, I got 10 minutes left. I got to kind of hurry here. Oh, I started late, so I have a little bit longer. Some of you know Sean Foyt. Okay. I think he's done a lot of good for truth-telling. Okay. Hated by many. I get it. Because, yeah, he exposes darkness, and we're called to do that. You who watch this program and say we're not called to do that, we're just called to tell people that Jesus loves them. You're wrong. I will stand before God and tell you, you are wrong. Because when you take the whole volume of Scripture, God makes it plentifully clear. Is that a good phrase? Over and over and over. We are supposed to stand up for righteousness. We are supposed to expose. Now, a while back, a phrase came out that said, we don't want to be known for just what we're against. And then it wasn't just what we're against. Then the phrase became, because I pay attention to these things, we don't want to be known for what we're against. See, we take the word just out. When you say just for what we're against, you're insinuating we want to be known not just for what we're against, but also for what we're known. Also for what we are for. Against, for. Okay? Then they dropped the word just out, and it became, we as Christians don't want to be known for what we're against. Error. This is what the enemy does. He either adds words or takes away. When he quoted Psalm 91 to Jesus on the Mount of Temptation, he did both. He added something and he took it away. I'll let you look that up. But see, we are called to do both. Mark it down. He said so. We are called. It does say expose the darkness. But it also says preach the good news. It's not either or. It's both and. It always has been. It always will be. Now, if we lean to the place, so all we're ever talking about, and some of you need to be careful about this, all we're ever talking about is what's wrong. All we do is expose darkness. Okay, you know what? That's going to hurt you and it's going to hurt other people. You need to have a balance like Jesus has a balance. And I can't tell you exactly what that looks like, okay? You have to go to him for that. All right, so I said all that to say, here's a group of people all dressed up in their garb, nuns, who are perverse, they're dressing up as nuns, but they're really just perverted. And all these other people in their costumes, and yes, I do feel sorry for them, and yes, I do pray for them, okay? And I do ask God to save them. I believe we're going to see a lot of people that are the worst of the worst come into the kingdom. I really do believe that, okay? That's why I pray for them, okay? So it's not just like throw them all off a cliff. No. We're fighting for their eternal souls. Okay. They're in a church. This is, to me, one of the worst things that can happen is when those who are meant to stand and represent or represent Jesus flip-flop in the name of love, because, the phrase love is love. It's not true. Not everything you call love is love, okay? Okay, when they stand up and they're standing up and they're making this decree that basically embraces wickedness. I don't know how else to say it. You can watch it, okay? That's all I'm going to say about that one. But that is one of the worst things of all, is when light becomes darkness. When light that is supposed to represent Jesus, that's supposed to stand for the truth of what God says, they flip-flop in the name of love, and they embrace all manner of darkness and wickedness. There is a special judgment for people like that. And we need to pray that God will turn their hearts. All right, number 6. Some of you remember I put a link on here a couple of weeks ago about a school principal named Shane Merman, who's also a drag queen and an accused pedophile. This is an update of where he's at right now. I'm not even going to go into it. I want you to look at it, but these are the kids, these are the principals and the teachers. If your kids are in public school, well, we can't do it. They have to go to public school. Okay. Sometimes, whatever sacrifice you have to make, even if it's living in poverty, if your kids are in a position that they're being unduly influenced by the powers of darkness, and don't you ever doubt the fact that there are demon spirits lingering around those rooms. You get a guy like this, who's the principal of a whole school, do you realize that his covering infects, not affects, it affects, infects that entire school. You see, when you disregard the spiritual component, angels and demons, and you forget that we are not wrestling against flesh and blood, man, at the very least, you better be anointing with oil and, pleading the blood of Jesus, having your kid report back. I mean, Some of our schools have become, I'm just going to say it, hellholes. I'm not cussing. Dens of darkness. Okay? It's a big deal. Okay? We cannot afford, we must not sacrifice our children in the name of convenience. And, well, I've got to have this job. No. Not all schools are that bad. I get it. But here's one, and you need to watch it. Number 7. Now, the reason I added this one, number 7, still no justice for the Epstein victims. Epstein Island, probably one of the most prolific sex traffickers on the planet, including young girls, young children, supposedly hung himself. I don't believe he did. I forget the lady's name. My mind doesn't recall quite as well as it used to. What's her name? Gazelle or somebody tell me her name. Anyway, client list has never been revealed. And I'm going to tell you the simple reason. You see, we want to overcomplicate everything. We want to explain away everything. People have become really good at lying and explaining stuff away. Here's the truth that just pretty much probably everybody knows. The reason that client list has not come out is because it is full of some of the highest ranking people on the planet. Period. The end. We're talking about the royal family. We're talking about people from our own political system, and it just goes on. Movie stars, sports figures, on and on and on. That client list, it could. Yeah. The reason I put this one in there, did somebody put a name down? Well, son, you guys can read it. Is because it's all connected. Let me just initiate a thought into your mind right now. I want you to think about this. When God talked about the global system that would dominate the world at the end, he named it after a prostitute. Now let me say that again. When God told us what the last global governance system would look like, not just mean government, but just the whole package, he called it a harlot. He called it the mother of all harlots, the big daddy of all pimps, whatever. Now, don't miss what I'm trying to say here. The point is he could have called it, the mother of all warriors. He could have couched the terminology in the military. He could have couched it in entertainment. He could have couched it in a lot of different things. Philosophy. He couched it in terms of sexuality. Are you listening? Don't miss what I'm saying right here. Why did you put Epstein among all this stuff about our kids, and sex trafficking and all of this crazy transition? Why did you put Epstein? Because it is all connected. You must understand. The Bible says the whole world is made drunk with the wine of fornication. That's not an accident. Okay, God is saying that the entire globe has become, or will be, we're in, I don't know what stage, the beginning, the middle, towards the end, I don't know. But the entire world will become intoxicated with sexual immorality, which is what the word fornication means. You're seeing it. It's all connected. It's all connected. It's all connected. Say, well, what's the big deal, Jim? Well, figure it out. Why is it a big deal? The very thing, human sexuality, that brings life into the earth. We shouldn't be ashamed of it. Okay? God made it that way. Okay? If you flip-flop to the other side and you think it's all dirty and it's all shameful, no. Then you've gotten too far the other way. God made it. He's not just okay with it. He delights in it when it's done the way he says to do it. But what is a blessing can also become a massive curse, and it has in the planet. Okay? So, there you go. I promise to do my best to tell you the truth. And you know what? We don't want to talk about these things. I've got minister friends that they won't listen to this program, because they say, Jim, you're just too plain talking about it. You can't be so plain talking about it. You know what? The time for beating around the bush, the time for soft pedaling everything is over. It's time to say the truth and to say it boldly so a desensitized public can be awakened. All right. Crazy government stuff. I've got to go through this fast. Okay, so because there's quite a few of these, and I'm just going to have to highlight them real quick. Number one, you probably heard about Ken Paxton, a Republican guy. Here's again my view of this. You can investigate, but my view is very simple. He's been said to be a supremely good leader, very honest, very upright. He did have an affair. That's a besmirch, on his reputation. But basically, they just wanted to get him out. And they don't like him. Let me just give you a real quick heads up here. You don't get to impeach someone just because you don't like them. See, that's the way our system is moving. We demonize, we accuse, we litigate, and we arrest, and we put people in jail because we don't like them. That's the devil. So, Jim, just tell us the way you feel. I am. That's the devil. When you don't like someone, and then no holds barred, all barriers gone. We're just going to do whatever we have to do because we don't like this person or we consider them a danger. Now, it's one thing if they do break the law. They should go to jail. It's one thing if they are hurting people. Violent, physical. I'm talking about physical. Yes, okay. Anyway, so this is an instance, in my opinion, where they just wanted to get him out because they didn't like him and because he wasn't playing the game. All right, number 3. Y'all know what's going on. I'm going to make my statement again about illegal immigration. This is not about being compassionate. You know what? The world has got billions of people. They can't all come to the United States of America. If you think they can, you're being stupid. It just cannot be. Same way as my house cannot fit 500 people in it. Okay? So what do? I have a door. I keep the door shut. I let in who I feel like can come in and I can support and so on. I don't have anybody living here. But you get the point. Okay, it works on a basic level, like your own property and your own house, all the way out to our nations, our states, and so on. Okay, there has to be parameters. There has to be we can't just. But these guys want that. They don't want states and nations. They want one big global village. So this whole thing about everybody come in is a couple of reasons. Number one, because it meets their standard of having a global society where there are no borders in states and nations, but also because all these grateful people, up to 7 million now that have come in, will vote for us because they'll feel obligated to us. That is the truth. You don't hear people talking about it very much, but it's the truth. All right. So New York, they're saying now they're having a huge problem because, let me just read this. Number one, illegals fill the hotel and people pay for it. So one of these hotels in New York City, I believe it is the theater. Is it the Roosevelt Hotel? You'll have to watch it. But basically, it is full. I forget how many people, a couple thousand people that have come across the border. And they are paying, I thought I wrote this down. They are paying for their being there. Okay, so here's the deal that the city of New York made. The hotel is a landmark. It's a very old established motel. Holds a couple thousand people. It has been purchased, I don't know how long ago, by the Pakistani government. Okay, it's owned by, yes, other governments own our stuff. Just saying. Pakistani government owns this. So the city of New York is paying for all of their motel rooms to the tune, I think I got this number right, $6,000 per family. Okay, so there's, I don't know how many thousands, 2,000 people, 3,000 people, whatever. And you divide that up, I don't know how many families that represents, a couple, few hundred, whatever. Anyway, it amounts to, and again, don't quote me on this because I forgot to write the numbers down. I believe it amounts to $75,000 a month. Something like, it's an enormous amount of money. It's probably in the millions. Yeah. Anyway, and guess who's paying for it? The people are paying for it. So finally the people are waking up and going, we don't want a sanctuary city. This is New York. Perhaps the most liberal city in the most liberal state in the continental U.S. And now even they are going, this is crazy town. We didn't see it coming. Okay, be quick or be careful before you're quick to persecute people that can see ahead and say, here's what's going to happen if we do this. Okay, you don't always have to wait for it to happen to see that it's going to happen. All right, so that's that. And then number 4 is akin to that. Let me say over 40% of New Yorkers, 41%, right now, today, are now in favor, listen to me, of building the wall that Trump started in order to stop this crisis. They're now saying this is crazy town, this is a crisis, I can't believe we let this happen. Other nations that have let this happen are losing their entire government and their culture. All right. So 41% of New Yorkers are now saying build that wall. Okay. Number 5. Okay. Here's a couple good news. 5 and 6. You know what's been going on in a couple of the states. In Shasta County, they're rebelling. In Shasta County, they're saying no to their own government, their state government, Gavin Newsom. So as soon as the whole COVID thing started coming down the pike, and you know, we're going to do the mandates now, and some of the schools have already started doing it. Booyah for Shasta County, also known as the place where I think Redding, Oregon is, and Bethel Church, and all of you who know that. Shasta County said no. I think it's the same county. I could be wrong. Anyway, they're saying we're not going to do that. So their mayor, their governor, whoever, come out and said we're not going to do the mandates. Matter of fact, let's pass a law. We refuse to comply. You see, you need to understand, this is not just a couple crazy people that are doing this. This is not just a few, and I make the joke of rednecks. I have lots of friends who are, this is not just a couple, banjo playing, cigar smoking, living down in the, no, these are some, and I'm not against those. I love all people. But you need to understand the way that the media portrays it is what did Hillary say? A bunch of backwoods, something deplorables. Obama said they're clinging to their Bibles and their guns. Okay, that's the way they think of anyone that isn't in their elite high tower. Okay, you're a nobody, you're stupid, you're unintelligent. Well, the truth is there are millions, perhaps, of highly educated people, not that they're better than the others, who are saying, no, we're not going to do this, including sheriffs, including political leaders. They're saying, you're doing this for political reasons, not because it's the right thing to do, and we won't have anything to do with it. This is also happening in New Mexico right now, where the sheriff of one particular county said, somebody asked him the question, he's doing a press conference. When they asked him, they said, what are you going to do about the governor's ban on guns? And he said, oh, that's easy, we're not going to enforce it. He works for the governor, okay? And he says, no. You know what? We Christians are always talking about willing to give our lives and suffer for Jesus. And yet we're not even willing to stand up for what's right. I sincerely doubt if we cannot stand up now, okay, if you cannot contend with the foot soldiers, the scripture says, what are you going to do when the day of the horses and the chariots come? In other words, if you can't stand up now when things are relatively easy, all you're losing is maybe your job and some friends on Facebook, okay? What's going to happen when they come to take your kids? What's going to happen when things get really, really bad? All right. Not trying to be doomsdayer, okay? Not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm just saying, let's tell the truth and let's walk accordingly. All right, I'm almost out of time. I actually am out of time. So number 7. Okay, I've mentioned this a few times. A number of months ago, I don't know, 6-8 months ago, a group of people tried to get it passed in the Oregon legislature, whatever, to make the killing of animals animal abuse. Now, listen, we're not talking about your pets. It's already that. You go out and beat your beloved pet up, and, used to be, years ago on the farm, remember the old yeller, dog gets rabies, or, the horse gets its leg broken, you go out and they would put an end to their farm animal or their pet, usually with tears and so on. So now, I believe you have to do it through a vet. I've known people that got in trouble. Anyway, you can't do it. It's called animal abuse. Okay, so they're trying to now extend that. Again, these are the crazies. Don't underestimate the crazies. You know what? Because they're out there petitioning, like Christians refuse to do because they don't believe that that's their responsibility, even though God said it was. So they're out there petitioning. Are you listening now? Killing a farm animal. I've got chickens. I got my nieces, nephews, friends. They raise different animals. Okay? You go to the store and buy meat, they want all of that gone. So they're in the process again. This happened a number of months ago, and it didn't go through. They're trying it again. Now, please know something, and please listen to this really carefully. This link only takes you to a picture on my Facebook page. But it is an accurate picture. I believe it's put out by Oregon Farmers or something. And it's about don't vote on this. Don't say this is okay. And it also has a section of the petition or the law that they're trying to pass. I'm getting my terminology mixed up. But let me just quote real quick. They want to make killing a farm animal for food. For food. No more chickens, no more pigs, no more bacon, no more beef. All of that, sheep, all goes away. If you kill an animal, it is a crime. I'm not over-exaggerating. You can read it for yourself. It's just hard to believe that people can be so insane. Okay? And, if that weren't bad enough, to breed animals, breeding chickens, allowing chickens really to breed under your care, sheep, horses, cows, breeding them, are you ready for this, will be considered animal sexual assault. Why am I saying this? So you'll be awake. So you know the day that you're living in. So you won't drift in. It's just me and Jesus and my little thing that we're doing, and I just want to go soak before the Lord all the time, and I have no responsibility to say or do anything other than that. I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm really not. I'm just saying these are the things that are happening. That's why we do this program once a week. All right. So you're going to want to look at that. It'll just take you a minute. But read the black and white. Read the part where it says what I just told you. All right. So number 8, Oregon. I think it's 13 counties, I could stand corrected, have now said yes. Okay. You guys that are Oregonians. Okay. I'm in Texas. You're in Oregon. A lot of people from Oregon. They want to secede. This has gotten so bad on the eastern half of the state. Okay, when you see a picture of the Oregon and you got red counties and blue counties, it's a wash in red. There are literally just a few places where the counties are blue. And so they're not represented. Everything goes blue, everything goes liberal, everything, the conservative ideas and they're just not, everything is about Portland and Eugene and Salem. All right. So, at least, I think 13 of the counties, of the 30-some counties, that's half the state is saying we want to secede to Idaho. We want to make a greater Idaho where we can be represented accurately. Watch that one. Number 9, I am going to go over today. My apologies. Number 9, many of you know that there has started a process for the impeachment of President Biden. Okay, I'm not going to go into that, but it's basically just started an inquiry, so don't get all excited. It's just a beginning process. You can look at those. Something came out, number 11, about the CIA paying off different people to do something. This is, again, you're not going to hear about this in mainstream media, but it is a fact. Number 12, and I think there's like 3 links that talk about that. Number 13. So there's a guy named David Ignatius who works at the Washington Post. He's kind of like one of the big top guys at the Washington Post. And pretty much when he says something, the entire liberal, group and Democratic Party and everything listens. So this idea about whether or not, I mentioned this earlier in the program, if you're just joining us, go back and listen. Everybody's talking about is Joe Biden too old to run again? Now, you'll see one of the most liberal people in the world, actually a number of them, say this very thing. So this is not just a few people that really don't like Biden or Biden haters or whatever saying he's too old and using that as an excuse for him not to run. No, it's not about age. Okay, just when you're listening to all the arguments, blah, 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 remember this. It's not about age. There are people that are 80, 90 years old. I knew a guy lived to 100 and some years old. It's not about age as a number. It's about competency. It's about mental, being able to think and to speak and to physically function. Everybody ages different and so on. Nobody ought to run the country and be the leader of the free world, which they're probably not anymore, just saying, if they can't even manage daily simple tax. I don't care, okay, how famous they are or how much they've done for the country. It doesn't matter. If Abraham Lincoln were alive and he was as physically challenged, I'll say it that way, as Joseph Biden is right now, I would say Abraham Lincoln should not run the country. Period. Okay? So that's what you've got to be healthy enough to do. So his own party, about 70%. Now listen to this. So this David Ignatius has come out and said what everyone's afraid to say, and so it's given everybody permission now on the Democratic side, on the left, to say, oh yeah, he should. And yet, this is amazing to me, and I'm going to end here. 70% of Democrats polled believe that he shouldn't, that he's too old to run. And yet about the same number, 70%, have said, but if he's the candidate, we'll vote for him rather than Donald Trump. I've been debating whether to say this, and I think right here at the end I will. I had a dream before the first election when President Biden was elected, regardless of what you feel about that. I believe that was corrupt, 100%. But anyway, I had a dream that he passed away. Now, everyone's going to pass away. I'm not predicting his death. I'm not hoping for his death. And if you hope for someone's death who's not ready to meet Jesus, that's something to be ashamed of. Okay, anyway. Yeah, that's something that needs a course correction in your heart, because eternity's a long time, and you don't want anyone to go into a Christless eternity. All right. But I did have this dream that he passed right before the elections, and I thought it was going to be that election. It felt very much like a God dream to me. And it may have been something that could have happened that because sometimes these dreams, these prophetic things, are meant not to be a prediction, but a prayer theme. Okay, because what I saw after his passing was utter chaos in the country. Utter chaos. Matter of fact, I saw a flag coming down from the heavens, falling to the ground. And it literally, I believe, had that happened at the first election 4 years ago, it would have been the downfall of our country. I really believe that, according to that dream. So I saw it played out. I prayed that it wouldn't happen. I know other people were praying, God, let peace prevail and so on. So we probably dodged that bullet. Now, will that happen again right before he runs? I do not know. I'm not trying to predict. Like I said, I don't wish for that for anyone, but I just want to go on record as saying that that is a possibility. And if it were to happen, I do believe there'd be a tremendous amount of chaos that would happen in the country. So we need to be praying about that. God said to pray for those who are in leaders that you may lead a quiet and peaceable life. Okay, no, he doesn't want corruption, and corruption hurts people, and there are people sitting in jail right now who are unjustly put in jail and have suffered tremendously for basically doing nothing, for doing the same thing, for protesting that other people are actually got paid for. Can't even go there. Anyway, that's number 13. I have a double. That's what I have is a double on here. I messed up on the thing here. All right, the last two are, it says more crazy stuff. There's extraterrestrials, okay, so they supposedly found aliens in Mexico. Quite a few people saying, no, it's not real. And there's some experts saying it is, some experts saying it's not. To me, it's mostly very comical. That's the last couple here. And then NASA has come out and said there's no credible evidence of extraterrestrials. And then there's one here about robotics. If you haven't looked at a video recently about the advancements of robotics, you need to. One of these days, you're just going to, So again, it's just about being mentally prepared, not being overwhelmed, so on. Number 2, and then the climate. Oh, here's an interesting one. So the UN today is having their big climate gathering. The UN. We're talking about all the leaders of all the countries, except for a few, come together in New York City. And the skyline, they did something very interesting. And again, if you go on this, you can see the picture of this happening. Drones, they took all thousands, I don't know how many drones, look like 1,000 drones. And these drones, they're now able to get them to fly so precisely because of computers that they can go out and spell things in the sky and make images. So the very first thing they do, and it's fascinating really, just from a technological perspective, what they do here. You're going to want to look at this. But it's also crazy town because they're committed to this 2030 thing that says we're going to be net zero by 2030. Everybody's going to be kumbaya. We'll have everything will be global money, global government, global religion, all of it by 2030. That's what they're predicting. Anyway, they send these drones up, and it first shows a picture of the Amazon, not the shipping company, but like, the rainforest, the Amazon basin. And so the Amazon rainforest getting burned down has been a thing for years and years. It affects the climate. It affects oxygen. It affects CO2. And there's some science to that. I'm not saying it's all not true. There's some stuff to it, but not to where they're taking it. So they show an outline of the Amazon, and then it fades, and then all the drones move, and then it shows a picture, some words. And this is what the words say. You can see it. It says, Amazon burns, and then that fades away, and then it says, the world burns. In other words, let's seize on every climate issue there is and say that it's the end of the world. That's reading between the lines. That is the level of extremism that these people are promoting. Okay? I'm telling you this. The world is not about to end. The world is about to change dramatically. And we should steward the planet. I don't believe that we're supposed to garbage up my backyard any more than I believe garbage up my street, or garbage up my city, or garbage up my state, or garbage up my world, okay? This is my Father's world, and we are commissioned to take care of it. But this is more than that. So anyway, Amazon burns, the world burns, and then all the drones converge into a huge picture of the planet. It's actually beautiful and fascinating and crazy all at the same time. All right, that's all. I'm going to stop. Went a few minutes over. God bless you. Thanks for listening. Pray that you will be awake and that you will spread the word and keep your faith in God. Know that God is in control, and He's going to have the last say over everything. And when He decrees a decree, nobody can turn it around. And the most important thing in life is that you live for God, that you are prepared for eternity, that you embrace the cross, and that you say yes to Emmanuel, the Word made flesh, the God-man, very God, very man, born of a virgin, okay? You embrace Him and what He did for you. Get your sins forgiven. Do your best to live like Christ and be prepared for His appearing. Amen. Thanks to all of you for coming on. Love you so much. Pray that you have a blessed Wednesday. I will see you tomorrow. And as always, give yourself permission.